wanted to.
Yep, don't get any cheaper than right now.
I'm sure they do, but I don't know.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, you're live.
This is the time of year.
It's a Carroll, I mean.
Yeah, I talked to him, when gas went down to they were paying you to take it. Paul called in and loaded all of our fuel up as much as he could that day.
Yeah.
So we bought gas and diesel as cheap as you can get it that day. Paul was on top of it.
Yeah, I think the contract price around is like 89 cents down to 79 cents. So it's pretty reasonable.
Yep.
School start on the 25th. What is it? The 25th?
Quite a few slamming down in there last week. To watch them slamming themselves. Quite a few. All right, it's 9 o'clock. I think we'll go ahead and get started. I think we'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag of the
Of
United
States
States of America
and
and
to
to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under
under
God,
God, indivisible,
indivisible, with
with
liberty
liberty and justice for all.
justice for all.
Okay, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
We'd like to make one addition to the agenda for this morning. It's a general assistance bill. $165.13. And I'd like to have a motion with that, with the agenda, with this addition to the payables. That will be on the payables.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of the general assistance for July 27th.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the approval of the agenda with that one addition. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And opposed? Okay, minutes from the July 20th meeting. Any comments?
I thought they read well. I'll make a motion to approve them as presented.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the approval of the minutes from the July 20th meeting. All those in favor say aye.
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 And opposed, motion carries. Okay, the first thing up this morning is the payables. Any questions on those?
Courtney, did you have any comments?
Okay. If no one else has any comments, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the payables with the addition of the general assistance.
How much was that general assistance bill again?
165.13.
And who's that payable to?
That's general assistance, it's to,
Coon Rapids Municipal Utilities.
yeah, Coon Rapids Municipal Utilities.
Okay. I'll make a motion to, did you make a motion, Rich?
No, I did not.
I will make a motion to approve the payables.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
All right. Okay, we have a motion and a second approval of the bills. All those in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed? Motion carried. Okay, next thing up is the fiscal year 21 interfund transfer resolution for the Maple River wastewater.
I think these resolutions are pretty self-explanatory. We do them every year. So those two wastewater funds can pay back the local option fund. So these are just the new amounts for the year.
One at a time, don't we?
Each resolution separate, yes.
I'll make a motion that we approve Maple River wastewater fund transfer.
All right, we have a second by Stephanie. Any more discussion on it? Okay, if not, I'll call for the vote on it. And roll call.
Ruggles,
Aye.
Houseman,
Yes.
Miners,
Yes.
Bach,
Yes,
Stettler.
Yes,
Motion carries.
I'll go ahead and make a motion for the fiscal year 21 interim transfer resolution for Mount Carmel Watershed Fund.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the Mount Carmel Fund. Any more discussion? If not, I'll call for the resolution vote.
Ruggles,
Yes.
Houseman,
Yes.
Miners,
Yes.
Bach,
yes,
Stettler.
Yes,
Motion carries.
Okay, if you'd like to, you stop in and sign these resolutions when you get a chance. Okay, the next thing up is an appointment to the Region 12 Regional Housing Authority Board.
Sent you all a copy of the letter I got from Region 12 stating that James Knott represents, and he's indicating he's willing to continue, so their recommendation is obviously to use him again, but unless the board has somebody else they would prefer to ask.
I'll move to reappoint James Knott.
I'll second that. Okay, we have a motion and a second for the reappointment of James Knott to the Region 12 Housing Authority Board. Any more discussion? If not, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 And opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Next thing up is a Class C liquor license, Whiskey Run LLC. No complaints on this from anybody?
I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve the Class C liquor license for Whiskey Run LLC.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 And opposed? Motion carries. All right, set the public hearing for fiscal year 21 budget amendment.
Right.
Courtney will explain it to us.
I want to start by saying we normally don't do a budget amendment in August when the year started in July. But due to the IEDA CDBG housing program grant we got, the COVID money that the board said we could spend, and also the ISIX radio project that was approved last year to spend some lost money out of. We're still doing these programs, but there wasn't any money in this year's budget to pay for them. So majority of the budget amendment is that. So if you start, I'm gonna look at the sheet that it's just at the top, it says August 10th, 2020 budget amendment. It starts with revenue and it breaks out in this area. You have a copy of that, but the only revenue on the amendment is $211,500, and that's that CDBG housing. That is a pass-through grant, so we'll get the revenues in here, and then we'll cut a check to pay back Region 12. And that's how that works. So in order to do that, we need to have it in our budget to receipt it in and also pay it out. So you'll see it below there where it's an expense down there under non-program current. I have it as that is an in and an out. Going down the sheet, expenditures in service area 1. I have $14,400. That's for the ambulance building rental. That was approved to increase rental payments to those 3 facilities, and that is the total. $180,000 for COVID equipment. That money was approved to purchase PPE and various things earlier, late last fiscal year. That's the balance that was left at the end of 20. So I just moved it over into 21. We haven't really, I don't remember if the board said 200,000. I can't remember. Yeah, so roughly 20,000 has been spent so far. But that's just moving the money approved last year into this year. Moving down, service area 3, that has to do with home health. Megan had asked if she could move. She had excess in her employee health line of about $18,000 that was budgeted. Due to some changes with employment and people, the plans that they were taking, she wanted to move $18,000 from in health insurance line to her office data processing. Her explanation was they were required to go electronically with their filing. And Dean, she said you may have a little more information on that because it was talked about at Board of Health.
Yeah, this is a project that IPDH has been talking about for about 5 years, but they've never really required or mandated any of the home care aides to implement this program until now. And, you know, for 5 years, there was nothing. Then all of a sudden, after the budgets are all made and put in place, then they decide, okay, now you've got to purchase this equipment. So what it is they're going to be purchasing iPads and hotspots. so that when they go into the homes and do service with these individuals, that they can at that time record that. So it's going to be kind of a what I want to say, an accountability issue that, you know, they are actually going into these homes. It's so that, you know, I think public health, the state public health wants to be more on top of this situation, I guess. They want these individuals to be more accountable. So this, I'm not exactly sure. I don't have that number. It's by no means, I think it was like $6,000, if I recall correctly, was the number that she was using to, and I think maybe Dalton, do you have any comment on that? Because I think you were kind of involved in that too.
She had talked to me about it some, yeah. I was actually, when I was listening to you guys, I was going to contact her after this and talk to her. So the only thing I heard about was like the iPads, I guess. We could get those and figure out a data solution. So
Okay. She'll also be on a Verizon plan. So that's pretty much what it's about. It's something that you really can't avoid at this point in time. Luckily, she's got money in her budget. She had budgeted for a family health care plan, and with the last individual that she hired, not knowing that this person did not want a family health care plan. So that's where the extra dollars are coming actually from. So that's why she's switching it from employee health to office and data processing. So.
Yeah, and she did tell me it wasn't an $18,000 project.
Right.
But knew that that's what she had in excess, and there's a lot more flexibility for her if we move it into office down into that area, because she has two different functions in her department. One function is just the aides, and the other function is office management, supplies, that type of thing. So while it's nice she has it in her budget to pay for it, if she's got to have a data plan for those iPads, it's going to be an ongoing expense moving forward. So moving down, I hate to have a $400 line item, because normally a $400 shortfall can be easily absorbed in another line. But this one was in a line called accounting and auditing, and it's where we pay for our state audits. There's no other place to pull from. If you're short in that line, you have to do an amendment. So we're $400 short, so I have that included there. Right below that is the $211,500. That was the grant money. And below that is the ISIX radio project. We just recently approved purchase of a building. That's where this money's going to come in handy to pay for that bill. And that is the balance that was left over from fiscal 20. So I'm just transferring it to this budget. So those expenditures look pretty expensive, but I'd like to look at the number, take away the COVID money and the ISIX project money, because that was really last year. But overall, you have to include it, $332,700. So I'm proposing that we do the hearing on August 10th at 10 o'clock. And if anybody has any questions about these items, I can try to explain it.
That date okay with everybody? Look at me.
Yes.
Need a motion to set that hearing date?
Yes, please.
Also move that we set the hearing date at August 10th at 10 o'clock.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed. Motion carries. Right. The next, is manure managements. We have Nisley and Nisley Incorporated, section 32 of our Arcadia Township. That was a crop rotation and a manure analysis change. The Karsten site, section 27 of Ewald. That was a change to their MMP program, and they will also be using manure analysis and crop rotation at this time. Okay. One other item, and I'll cover it in committee reports if you don't care, is back to the COVID subject. Last week we had sent a addendum to our handbook off to the county attorney for his opinion. You all received that. I understand his thought process, but I also understand that I think we have our elected officials kind of and our appointed officials kind of in a quandary about applying it equally everywhere. So I'm okay with this addendum actually being added to the handbook and I think we should also make the statement in there that will pass and stop and when the governor's decree stops at the end of the year. And I think that should be the driving factor of that addendum. And that's number one. And number two is to get everybody on the same page. I'm concerned that we don't handle every employee exactly the same way. So I guess in my committee report, I did talk to John about it, and I think I disagree with him. I'm not a lawyer, but I just see that this is an avenue, maybe of a policy change that we could do to help it easier on the elected people. With the appointment, like I said, with the appointment of the EOC, when we brought that Emergency Operations Center up, we brought the Board of Health into play. We did bring them in. And this is kind of some of their recommendations, and I think we probably should kind of follow along a little bit. I don't see that big an issue with them, but before I go on the rest of the committee report, when I talk about that, anybody else got an opinion there?
Well, did he offer any suggestions?
No, he didn't, and I think that kind of goes back to he's really not going to set policy.
Yeah, he doesn't set policy.
Right.
Well, he did say the handbook already addresses sick leave. I think he said in the comment.
Yeah.
And that this is an illness just like the flu.
You're right, but this sick leave has a caveat with it too, and we've all got that from the state and the federal government, that there's different ways of handling this, and there's more days that we have to apply. Just to make it easier on everybody, but I also know that the decision today by the Board of Health today may not be the same decision next Wednesday, because this all changes.
Would it be wrong to just recommend to department heads, elected officials, that if you have a case or a suspected case, that everybody is to contact public health or the emergency manager and use their advice, since it is always changing? Or do you want, like what Sarah had presented, it was pretty detailed.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but unless it's all changing.
That's true. And I think that's what her attempt was, to make this a little more etched in stone, so she doesn't have all the calls, because we're going to see more cases and there's going to be so many different scenarios. I understand her side of it. I also understand, I think Courtney has a rather valid point there too, being that it does change, maybe we should consider just calling her. So what's your guys' opinion of this?
Regardless of our decision, I think we need to make it quite clear that this is, we're going into an unknown area that's very fluid and could change at any time.
And I think it's a good addendum. I'm not necessarily sure it needs to be added to the handbook, but it's kind of like the 10-hour payment plan that that the state mandated. I mean that didn't go in the handbook either, but it's a guideline that is I think the board is going to have to approve this, correct? At some point in time, maybe at the next meeting or something, or what are we going to do?
That's my interpretation of it, Dean, is if we're going to do an addendum, we're going to have to do it at a board meeting and make it official.
Right.
Well, I'm kind of like with Dean. Do we need to put this in the handbook? Do we just adopt this as an employee guideline? Drop the top line off of it.
Well, we didn't put the COVID action plan, I think it was called. That did not go in the handbook. That was just a policy that was approved by the board, everybody got, and it expires at the end of December or something like that. So it could be something similar to that.
I guess that's kind of what I was referring to. I think it should probably be something similar to that. That's going to expire at the end of the year, and if we still have to at that time reenact it again, I guess we would do that at that time. So I don't know. Those are my thoughts. I think we need to implement this. I think it's very important. I think there needs to be accountability, from our employees. So
I agree. The one thing I try to change is I'd like to tie it to the governor's decree. But we can revisit it at the end of the year too. Also, it's not that hard. It's just, if we tie it to the decree when she changes it or stops it or extends it, it just moves with it. That was my only added piece to it that I thought maybe was worth looking at.
Well, that way it's got an expiration on it.
It does have an expiration.
That's probably not the worst way of doing it.
I like that idea of implementing it without adding it to the handbook.
So you comfortable with that then?
Yeah, do you want me to put it on the agenda for next week?
Yeah, I think we'll put that on agenda next week. We'll make a vote on it and see where it leads us.
sounds good.
All
Yeah,
right.
I think on this document that we had last week, just drop that top line off. But
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'll go on with my committee report. And then also on Wednesday, I also met with the county attorney on another matter. Thursday, we had the Shide Hattery update with baiting construction, and came up for the on-site visit and watched the cells get swung in. That was it for last week. Well, other than coalition meeting was on Friday, and I also had a CEO Iowa workforce statewide conversation for a couple hours on Friday via Zoom, and I think we're all the region areas, whatever you want to call them, I think we're all in the same boat, and we're all just about there. So I'm feeling comfortable that program that's going to come to an end here within the next 6 months or so. We should be completely tied up, have our boards appointed, have all fiscal agents will be in, Iowa workforce monies will be transferred. We should be in good shape. Then on Tuesday of this coming week, tomorrow, the only thing I have this week, and I'm meeting with Gene on a subject tomorrow. Anybody else got one ready?
Neil Bach here, I'll go next. Last week on Monday, I had the radio and did the newspaper as well. On Wednesday, had a Rolling Hills meeting. It began with a closed session of our evaluation of our CEO, Don Menser, and it went very well. We talked about the county payment schedule, and Courtney's suggestion was it would be ideal to have two separate payments and rather than quarterly payments, and she suggested November and May 1st, and it'll be very similar to that. We also had a discussion concerning crisis service, and it has been down due to COVID-19. It's been down statewide. That was about all the important issues on our meeting. Also did the Shive Hattery meeting along with everyone else on Thursday, and with Gene about veterans assistance. Gene, it was kind of interesting. After I hung up with you, you called Rich and left a message, and you came over loud and clear on my iPad, and I don't know why. But
Really?
I was, you called Rich and said, call me when you get time, and I don't know why, but it came over my iPad. I wish you'd had something better to talk about than that, but because I was listening in. And this week, on Tuesday evening, I have the RSVP foster grandparent meeting. That's all I have lined up for this week.
I will go next then. Last week, I had the jail meeting that we had at everybody, and also the coalition meeting. And then this week I have I've got a meeting with Rich on Tuesday that we've got to discuss on some stuff, and then that's it for me this week.
I can go next. I had the jail meeting on Thursday, and then on Friday I had to not go and participate in the emergency coalition meeting because I was at the North Raccoon River Watershed Management Coalition meeting. It went pretty well. I think probably about half of the voting members were at the meeting, including myself. A lot of discussion. It took 2 hours. A lot of back and forth, a lot of comments. I will say that we weren't the only counties to rescind the resolution. Sac County and BV County also rescinded the resolution, which was a surprise to me a little bit, I guess, because they were involved in the lawsuit, and yet they were okay to not split up the watershed coalition. So Pocahontas, Palo Alto County, Calhoun County, and Webster County, they all stayed in the resolution. The vote for the plan, we had a lot of discussion about the 48 and 41. Prior to that, I had a call with Mark Hansen about the 41 and the 48%. Mark Hansen, supervisor from Dallas County. He was okay to make a resolution to go to 41% if there would be a second, and I said I would second that. And it never got to that point. We never had an opportunity to do that. The only way that it was going to be changed from 48 to 41% is if the plan failed. At that point, it would cost, I think it was the engineering companies said that it would cost about $6,500 to make the change throughout the plan to go from 48 to 41%. So there's no money for that, designated for that. And so it'd probably have to come from the counties to make that, to make that change. They took the vote, and the vote was, there were 25 members, which is a quorum, to vote, 14 yeses and 11 noes. So the Northern County Supervisors, basically all of them, voted against the plan. The Southern Supervisors, the counties, voted for the plan, as well as a majority, I would say maybe almost all of the soil and water representatives for the plan. So that did not surprise me that much, because, you know, they want to see improvements, and they don't have the accountability that supervisors have as well. So if you think about that a little bit, it really was not a surprise to me that the vote went that way. So as it turned out, everybody ended up okay. We're all whole. We have some that disapproved. Doesn't make any difference. That doesn't kick them out of the coalition. So I mean, everybody's all in, and the 48% is in as well. And so we'll just have to live with that. But the big and bright spot out of this whole thing was a presentation from a young man by the name of Adam Keel with the Iowa Soybean Association. And I knew this was in the works, but I really didn't say anything because I wasn't sure that it was actually going to be passed. But there is a large grant coming to the watershed, and I'm not going to give you a number today. I'll probably report that, because I'm going to do some more research on this and find out just exactly how this is going to play out. But it's a significant amount of money to be used throughout the watershed. They're going to have an agronomist, and this is a 5-year plan, and it's going to, they're going to have an agronomist, 3 agronomists throughout the watershed. So they haven't hired one for Carroll County area, but there will be one located in this area to work on watershed issues on the Raccoon River in our area. So I think it's going to make a big difference. And so as it turned out, I think everybody was pleased with where they were at in this. It probably went better than everybody thought it was actually going to go. So this week I don't have anything except for follow up on the Watershed Coalition. Any comments on the meeting? Questions or answers I can give?
I think you explained it very well, Dean.
So we'll just go on from here. That's all I have.
Thanks, Dean.
Okay, I'll go last. Last week I had a daycare meeting at noon. All is going well. They're just still trying to decipher on how to keep going with the kids and trying to accommodate to the schools reopenings or not openings and things like that. Then Tuesday I had the Republican convention at night. Then Thursday I had a jail meeting, and I did do an on-site, watch them have the cells brought in, and then Friday emergency coalition. This week I have the newspaper, and I think that's it for this week. I also received 2 phone calls on Sunday about roads, so I'll be having a conversation with Zach later today.
Courtney,
Yes.
do you have on next week's agenda or anything you'd like to talk about yet?
Other than that, the COVID action thing.
Okay.
I really don't have anything.
Right now, we're sitting with the COVID action thing for next week, so keep your phones turned on for emails. We might not have anything. We may not talk about it next week. We may show it another week. We'll see. We'll see. Something will come up maybe. So. Okay. Anything else? Any comments from the internet?
Nope.
How many viewers do we
I
have?
think it's 6.
6? Okay, very good.
I'll just say that I just checked my emails and I did get I contacted this Adam Keel from the Soybean Association on Friday. And I see I have an email from him this morning. So
Okay.
we'll start in on that right away.
All right, thanks, Dean. All right, I guess we're looking for a motion for adjournment.
I will make
So
that.
move. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for adjournment. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
And opposed? Motion carries.
Rich,